Hi, everyone. I'm Kim Curley, and today we're going to chat with y'all about a super interesting topic, which is why the adoption of AI is not going the way people thought it would. I'm joined by my friend and colleague, Kristen, who has been researching adoption of AI for the last decade and recently wrote an article for NTT on why we think these adoption challenges are happening. So, Kristen, we were recently talking about a statistic that said something like 70 to 85%, I think you said, of corporate Gen AI rollouts are not seeing the impact that people are expecting, which is wild considering that for regular IT project rates of failure, it's more like 25 or 50%. So a really big jump when you bring AI into the conversation. You know, in our teams, we focus on the human side of things. And so I'm curious, what do you think are the human reasons for this jump in failure rate?
Yeah, it really is outstanding, that difference, isn't it? I think it all points to the fact that a lot of organizations are just jumping right in right now. They're jumping in as fast as they can. Everybody's talking about Gen AI. So they're just grabbing the lowest hanging fruit and they're moving very fast. And what that means is they're doing this without doing their due diligence in a number of areas. And when teams move too fast, they often skip some of these crucial change management steps that we know are very important, or they just completely skip it altogether. And so I think that's the main reason we're starting to see these disappointing adoption figures trickle in.
Yeah, I bet you're right. I mean, if there's, we continue to see challenges with sort of the change management aspects or adoption driving tactics and strategies being lifted out of projects when something has to go. But I'm curious, does change management or driving adoption activities, do those activities need to be different when you're talking about an AI implementation, different from how we would normally do change management?
Yeah, I believe so. There's a lot of change management methodologies out there, and most of them get the job done. But the thing is, if you take some of these old ways of working and you apply it to new technology, it doesn't always get you the results you're looking for. Hence why we're having this conversation. I will double click on that and give you an example. Kotter's methodology for change management starts with creating a sense of urgency. And normally in any other change, if you're rolling out some sort of new program, if you're rolling out SAP, any of those things, creating that sense of urgency is the first step you want. You want people to be excited about that change. The issue with AI is that that urgency doesn't always land the way that people think it's going to. That urgency may accidentally scare people off before you've even started. Another methodology that people know and love is ProSci's 5-step ADKAR model. And that's an interesting one too, because you take each person, you walk them through awareness, desire, knowledge, ability, and then reinforcement. And so if that first step is awareness, same kind of thing, you almost have to bring some knowledge in with that awareness. So it's almost like you're addressing knowledge twice if you are following the ADKAR model.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That knowledge there in the beginning makes it not so scary for people. Training is a component of change management. Training, I think, looks different when you're dealing with AI. Your sponsorship looks different. That's a crucial component. Sponsorship is the number one factor that helps people affect change. And a lot of sponsors don't know enough about AI to be good champions for it. And so here they've gotten slapped with the badge of being the sponsor, but they don't know how to do it. Yeah. And then, of course, I also think that fear is an element too.
Yeah, and Kristen, actually, I think fear sort of plays into the other things you said too, right? Like you need to bring in extra and early knowledge to help combat fear. Sponsorship, often sponsors are fearful. So I think there's a lot of interesting things there. One thing you didn't mention, and I wonder what you think, is I think change fatigue plays a big part here as well. And I think everybody is just absolutely fatigued with change and trying to figure out how they can create resilience around dealing with the amount of change that we need to these days. I read a statistic recently that said, from Gartner, that said in 2022, the average employee experienced 10 planned enterprise changes. Okay, 10's a lot, and a whole lot, and that's up from just 6 years before that. in 2016. So I do think people are just really overwhelmed with change. I think everybody's a little bit nostalgic for the days where, we had lots of change and then we had a period of calm and then maybe we had lots of change again and then a period of calm. And we just don't have that in the world anymore. We're in constant cycles of change. And I don't think we as humans have kind of caught up to the resilience or the stamina, right, that it takes to have that change.
No rest for the weary.
That's right. You just gotta figure out how to power through whatever that is. So one of the things that you mentioned was training, and you said that it's different when we're talking about AI. Tell me what you mean by it needs to be different.
Sure. So if you are rolling out a very basic technology or a very basic process, typically the training component, you would just train users on what is changing. The interesting thing here is that there's some layers of knowledge that need to be bestowed upon your users in order for them to be really able to use the tool at the max capacity. So the first of those layers is data literacy. They need to understand how data is used in an organization. They need to understand when you extrapolate on that data and it shows you an erroneous result based on your data not being clean. The second thing, which I'll kind of package with that, is AI literacy. Similar but different. And AI literacy is where you learn about what AI is. I literally got asked this morning, what is generative AI? And that's interesting because, in organizations, some of us just kind of expect everybody to know that, and they don't always they don't always know that. And so it teaches you what AI is. It teaches you what machine learning is, what a neural network is, what the models that it's trained on are, what all of those things mean, and then teaches you things like what a hallucination is, how to look for it. And you learn all of that before you get to the third step. And that third step is actual training on your tool. So whether you're using like an internal generative AI assistant like Copilot, that's when you would get your Copilot training after you do all the literacy training. This is so crucial. The data is showing us, by and large, there's statistics everywhere that employees want more training. Employees don't feel like they've got accurate data or AI literacy skills. But what's interesting is that the statistics on the number of people who have been trained are very low. And the statistics on the number of organizations that are planning on offering AI training are also low. So there's this disconnect here where people want the training and they're just not getting it, and they're not getting it the right way.
Well, and that training, I think, goes back to something else you said, which is related to fear, right? So training and exposure can often work to decrease levels of fear about something. But I think this concept of fear is maybe the most interesting component of adoption here, because I think it's multifaceted fear. It's not just one thing. So I'm curious about that component. And I also don't think that corporations are talking about that enough, right? I mean, if they're not investing in regular old tool training or data literacy training, they're probably not investing in things that decrease fear levels within their organization as well, right?
Exactly. I actually don't think a lot of organizations are opening up the hood and looking in to see what's really going on. So you could do something called a sentiment analysis to figure out what people are really thinking. I'm not quite sure that organizations are really doing that to capture what is going on. Instead, they're relying on water cooler talk. And the water cooler talk, what's interesting is I think what people are saying in the workplace varies from what they really believe. I keep challenging people with this, and I ask them to ask some colleagues about what they think about generative AI. Ask some people that you work with. It could be people within your organization. It could be maybe clients. It could be people that have a similar job to you and you know them from a networking group. But ask them what they think. And a lot of times they're going to come back with a positive answer. And then when you go outside of your work and you get to a space that's really safe, so maybe you're at a family event, you're at a cookout, you're watching a sports event together, and you ask them how they feel about generative AI, you may get a few more candid responses that show that people actually are a little reticent to use the tool. And so I've been encouraging people to do that because I think that the talk track that employers are hearing right now is a little bit falsely inflated towards the positive. And because of that, they're not actively mitigating the resistance.
Yeah, it's a really good point, because I mean, there's some aspects of AI in general or more broadly that frankly are creeping people out on a number of different fronts. I mean, for real, creeping people out.
Oh, totally. Yeah, absolutely. I know you love psychology, so you'll love this concept. There is a psychological phenomenon out there called the Uncanny Valley. And the Uncanny Valley describes the discomfort or the eeriness that people feel when they encounter a digital entity that is almost human. It appears almost human, but it's just shy of fully lifelike. It's normally explained by a graph. I don't have the graph on me, so I'll tell you a story so that you can kind of understand.
Better. Yeah. Stories are better.
So the best way to describe it is, let's talk about, maybe I sketch a picture for you. And I sketch this picture and it looks like a little baby, like a little human baby, but it's me drawing it. So it's a pretty rudimentary sketch, but I just draw a baby and you go, oh, that's cute. See, you just smiled. Your reaction was to chuckle.
Yeah, cute baby.
So then maybe the next step is I'm a skilled cartoonist and I draw a very cute caricature of your child. And I happen to know what team you're a fan of. So I put the kid in like a University of Georgia onesie. See, you're smiling again.
Excellent.
You like this.
Great start.
Very cute. Yes. So maybe I take it a step further. I like to crochet in my spare time. Maybe I crochet a baby and I make it lifelike. I make it the 19 inches like a real baby. I put beans in it so that it weighs 7 pounds like a real baby. And I crochet a little outfit for it that's, nostalgic for you. And I hand it to you. You are going to be like, oh my gosh, this is so cute. This is so cute. And you're going to just revel in how much work it took me. You're going to be like, this is adorable. I love that you gave it, these features. One step even further. Maybe I take the time to sculpt a child out of wax. And now I've made this child look exactly like a child you have known in your life. At a certain point, maybe when they were very small, maybe when they were a couple months old, I've made it the same exact size, the same exact weight. I've made it smell like your kid did. And then I animate it. Yeah, see, your facial reaction just told me exactly what it is. Suddenly you're
now
like,
I'm creeped out.
You're creeped out. Yeah, you're creeped out. And you're creeped out because we've just gotten too close to reality. And for some reason, our brains, as soon as you get to that precipice of reality, we back off. And we're like, wait a second, that's too close.
Yeah, warning signal,
exactly.
Not quite right.
Right. And so what that means is, as we are seeing technology advance rapidly, some of these tools are kind of triggering that response in people's minds, where suddenly if your digital assistant starts using slang that you only expected to get out of your middle schooler, you're like, wait a second, are you real? Are you? And so it's kind of freaking people out. And there is a way to overcome that. And it is with what we talked about earlier, training, good communications, letting people know, exactly what it is and isn't, so that they can get closer and closer to that edge of the precipice and not freak out, not be scared of that uncanny valley.
Yeah, I love that. That's fantastic. And you're right. It's that almost is fine, but when it gets too close to almost, it's just really freaky and a little weird.
Exactly. Yeah.
Totally get that. Well, Kristen, I have absolutely loved this conversation, and I'm so glad that we got to spend some time. I always learn a ton when I'm talking to you. So it's great, and we could talk about this all day. So hopefully we'll do this again sometime soon. For everyone watching, we'd love to help you tackle the challenges and questions that you have about AI adoption in your organizations. So hit one or both of us up. We'd love to talk about it.
Sure. Thanks.
Thanks, Kristen.